Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to the beginning of yet another fabulous week at the Today Show. Now, I hope you had a fabulous weekend. For me, it was all about the sport, the FA Cup, the rugby, and of course the African Nations Cup. So what happened? Senegal beat Egypt. That was Liverpool against Liverpool. That was phenomenal. Mane missed a penalty during the game. Then he scored the last one to take them to the trophy itself. And then, of course, Liverpool got through the FA Cup. Man United got knocked out. We had Boreham Wood, the only non-league side left in the cup to go through. And Leicester City of the Premier League were knocked out by Nottingham Forest. And of course, Scotland beat England in the Calcutta Cup. So it was all about the sport this weekend. Alhamdulillah, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Let's move on to our first guest this evening on the Today Show. Now, looking for a spouse is a daunting task. Our next guest has helped over 3,500 Muslims find their other half since 2011. Joining us tonight to discuss the importance of compatibility and how to prepare yourself for such a major life change. Please welcome the director and founder of Personal Match UK, Naseem Mohammed. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing? You okay?
Alhamdulillah. Welcome to the Today Show. Is finding someone to get married to becoming more difficult?
Yeah, I would definitely say the world is changing, and as every sort of 5 years go by, I think it's getting harder and harder to find the right one. Yeah, definitely.
And why is that, do you think?
Many different reasons. I think life has changed just as people's expectations have changed. We've got social media influencing people's mindsets, and there's, I think, as we interview more people, there seems to be more and more things that people won't compromise on. So they tend to stay single for longer, and they're looking for more of their tick boxes and non-tick boxes to be there. So I think, yeah, the expectations are a lot higher than they used to be years ago.
I mean, inevitably, a lot of people are moving online nowadays to try and find their potential partner. Is there still room for someone like yourself, a Personal Match, to still do the matchmaking, so to speak? Because that network's kind of died out, hasn't it?
To be fair, we're, mashallah, doing quite well. We're very busy, and people are coming from online to us saying that, the people are not putting the correct information on the profile, they're not contacting their parents, they're not serious about settling down. So there's many reasons why, and they don't want their picture plastered up for everyone to see. So there's many reasons people do come to us. And again, the support that we can give them, the guidance that we give them, maybe if you're alone on your own looking, you wouldn't get that.
So tell us about somebody who comes to you. What kind of things are you looking for to find out from them, to see what would be the potential right match for them?
Really, it's just how they live their life, where they are in religion, where they are with their education, where they are in lifestyle. And I think the biggest thing for me is expectations. So if I can meet their expectations and they're able to compromise on some of them, I think that's quite a big deal for us. So yeah, definitely understanding the person's needs and maybe helping them prioritize. So if they say, someone ambitious, someone family orientated, someone with a moral compass, then we've got 2 or 3 things that are really important to them, and then we use that as a gauge to help.
So, do you think you sit back sometimes and when you met somebody, you think, I don't think they know really what they're looking for? Do you have to step in sometimes and say, hold on a minute here, let's just think for a minute? Somebody might, I don't know, they might be asking for something that's completely not within their kind of, I don't know, their space, their life, Do you ever sit back and, think and think, wait a minute, let me give you some advice here?
To be fair, we don't really need to do that because we match on compatibility. So we take 2-3 hours each with each person, spend sometimes 5-6 hours, and we have a real understanding of what they want, where they'll compromise, where they won't. So we have a long discussion on that. So there's little, and even after that, of course, there'll be some things that need to get ironed out between the couple, but the majority of things that they're looking for are in the person that they're meeting. So they can relax and have a chat with the person rather than thinking, it's half the stuff I'm being told, authentic or not.
So at the point where you think you've found somebody who's compatible for somebody else, you would introduce this couple. At what stage do you have to pull back and think, I've got to let them make their own decision?
We communicate probably within the first 3 months. We're still quite in kind of regular contact. after that, there's talks of maybe engagement, talks of like when the wedding might happen. We do take a little bit of a step back then, but for the way that we work, we're A to Z. So from the minute you say hello to your nigadi, we're kind of with you all the way.
So I'm assuming you've attended a lot of weddings.
A lot of weddings, yes.
So tell me, what are the top, say, 5 things that people are looking for in a partner?
I think the biggest one is somebody who is understanding, somebody who is compromising, someone who comes from a good family. Education plays a big part, and religion plays a big part as well, I would say.
And you think the main reason that people are not finding the person they want, obviously we know about the pitfalls of the online scenario, is generally because they're trying to tick every single box. And what would you say to someone like that and say, look, you need to step back a little bit and just try to think of what the top 5 are, how easy is it to convince somebody that you're not going to find Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect for that matter?
And that happens at the interview stage. So when we're speaking to them, say, look, are these things important to you? Think about these, would these things be something that you could call? And then when they give this scenario, say, yeah, I'm going to be more interested in the person with these things. But the biggest change, I think, happens when they start actually speaking to people. And they can say, actually, I like that person, but I understand now where you come from. This is important. I think they learn a lot more once they start having conversations.
Now, obviously, in the old days when the Auntie G's network, they would recommend somebody, they knew somebody in Atterley through, they were quite good in their recommendations. They were quite strong recommendations. They actually either knew the person or they knew somebody who knew the person quite well. And obviously, as you mentioned, online, people can go on, they can put on whatever picture they want, they can say whatever they want about themselves. You never really know the truth until goodness knows when, or when you actually get to meet them. How much vetting do you think is required from your side in a position of, the matchmaker, so to speak? How much work do you have to do to try and ensure, this guy is kosher, so to speak?
I think, to be fair, with Allah's blessing, Neighbour, you've known me a very long time. I've been doing my role for a good 22 years now. And I think that I've kind of nailed down the first kind of 20, 25 questions I need to ask to understand where is this person in life and what do they actually want and how genuine are they. So we do actually interview a lot of people that we can't then move forward into matching as well. So, but yeah, it's something that in terms from the vetting process, we do passport checks, we do ID checks, we do kind of residential checks and all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing is that the interview, the questions we ask and how that person responds to the questions we ask. That's the kind of main way we can find out if we want to continue working with this person and we want to recommend them.
It's a shame Akik, one of our backstage staff, is not here tonight because he's looking to get married. I'd have loved to have had him here. You could interview him and see what he comes up with. So Akik, if you're watching, we'll try and get you connected with Naseem to find out who's compatible for you. I think that the other question I would say is, at what point do you get people who are just constantly looking and they just can't seem to go beyond the first couple of meetings and they come back to the drawing board again? Does it happen a lot?
It can happen for some people, yeah. It can happen for some people, but then they realize that if I don't give somebody a chance, because, and in my opinion, I'm sure you agree with me, but you can't have a 40-minute to, 2, 3, 40-minute conversation with someone and then think, it's going to work for me or not. There's an awful lot to think about in terms of compatibility, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of how the families are going to communicate and their own journeys. They need to see if they're on the, they're moving in the same direction.
And what about couples? Obviously, inshallah, they go on, they get married, and things don't work out. What are the key factors that play in that initial journey, do you think, when things don't work out?
With us, mashallah, I think because we spend a lot of time in the initial stages and, maybe at the 3-month mark, if we're seeing too many differences or one person's not understanding something or the other person's not willing to compromise, we do have that conversation with them and say, look, you're at the 3-month mark, what would you like to do? You're clearly telling me, you have some misunderstandings here and there, or you're not aligned here and there. So we tend to pull people out give them a break and put them in with somebody new. To date, I haven't had discussions with people who have got married and divorced through ourselves.
Oh wow! So everyone who gets married through you guys is still there?
Unless they've got divorced and they haven't. Obviously, I've been working since 2001 doing this, so maybe they're not going to contact me when it happens, but if it has happened, but not to my knowledge.
That's 3,500 matches. MashaAllah, phenomenal. And what do you think is the biggest challenge from going from single to getting married? What is the big hurdle?
Giving up your independence.
Oh, that's interesting. Giving up your independence. And I suppose, obviously, the longer you take to try and find somebody, you get accustomed, don't you, into your own kind of space. And then it becomes difficult to try and find somebody who could fit into that space, I suppose.
I think the initial stages are because you've got your life, they've got their life, and then you're now bringing two people who have been independent. Obviously, people who work in my environment are professionals. You know, they've spent time building their career, obviously educating themselves and things, and then taking their time and finding a spouse that they want to be with.
Where's next for the marriage industry, so to speak, and the matchmaking aspect? What's next? What's going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years, maybe?
I think moving forward, as parents get more aware how difficult it is, I think the younger generation are probably going to be more encouraged to, and it's even happening now, are encouraged to, bring somebody forward if they like somebody, or they've met somebody at uni, or they know somebody at work, because it really is getting harder and harder to find a spouse.
And of the percentage of people that come to you, do people come to you thinking, look, I've met somebody, mom and dad won't listen to me? Do you get that as well?
We do, but there's not very much we can do with that. Because obviously that's a parent's domain, there's nothing I can do with that. We can say to them, look, if somebody's out there listening and they're in that situation, is take the foot off the pedal, understand, look at things from your parents' perspective.
Yeah, of course.
Your parents love you, they don't want you to, if they can see trouble ahead for you, maybe you're not enough life experience to see this trouble ahead, and the parents are trying to protect you from it. It could be a case of, well, if you're still interested a year down the line, year and a half, if that person is important to you, then allow that time to pass and allow your parents to see, well, no other matches that came forward, maybe consider it. But if you're going to push just as much as parents are going to push, restriction.
Lovely. Well, Naseem, thank you so much for being with us on the Today Show, and we look forward to seeing you again, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
Right, now it's the time for our first break of the evening. Stay tuned. We're back on with more on the Today Show after a cup of tea and maybe a wee biscuit.